It's your girl Shy. Thank you for tuning in to Candid Conversations. So today I'm going to be sharing my personal, you hear somebody's testimony, but you want what was the steps, sis? How was you able to maintain? How was you able to make it over? That is the stuff that I'm going to be sharing today. So while you're here, be so kind to share the link with a friend, a family member, another woman you know, because today, just like every other day, we're going to talk about it. And again, welcome. And as you are tuning in, let me know where you're tuning in from, and we're going to talk about it. See you soon. Come on now. Welcome, welcome, welcome again. Um, it's Tuesday. So it's Candid Conversations with Shy, where this is where we talk about God life and all that other stuff in between. Because look, life be lifing, things be happening, and we have to talk about it. But we never gonna talk about it without including God. Not here. So thank you for tuning in. And if you have not, if you missed out, because today is episode 10. This is conversation number 10. So if you like 10, I need you to go on, check out the playlist and catch up on anything that you missed. Week before last, very, very powerful candid conversations with our guest, LaShante Floyd. She gave wisdom, advice, practical tools that you're able to use in your everyday life. And so, any conversations that you missed before today, I know, I know we have an urge to binge watch. Okay. I'm gonna need y'all to binge watch these conversations. Even if you can't watch it, just have it playing in the background. That is how you can help me out. So I'm gonna start off with something new that I tried. Every summer, you know, I ask the kids um, to write down what they want to do in the summer, things they want to try, and all of that. And so I can, put that in rotation so we can try to do that. So today I helped my daughter. She wants to make a cake on her own. She said she did 40% of the work and I did 60, but she made her first cake and she wanted to make a meal for the family. So we did that as well. And what I want to talk about in current events, and I was just sharing this story, and I didn't just hear about it today, but it's only been a couple of days. And it's the story, well, real life event um, regarding the the two sisters, ages 14 and 12, allegedly kills mom in a vicious attack days after she took away their phones. So, of course, like anything, we don't know the details. We don't know if it was that or even more. But what I want to say is these stories are becoming the norm. And that's the unsettling part, regardless of the reason. Parents killing their kids, kids killing their parents, people just being killed in general. That is the norm. Seeing RIP on our timelines has become the norm. And and even when it's a world thing, the only way it does not impact you if you are not human. We still are impacted by things that are outside of our households. So hearing this story and all the other stories where things have happened with our young people, just last week, the 12-year-old that stabbed her brother. And unfortunately, he passed away. And I'm watching the police web the police cam of it, seeing her expression and uh, her saying she don't know what's happening and all of the things. So since this is where we definitely talk about God, okay, we have to pray like never before. And I'm not talking about our 15-minute prayers. And this is something that God has personally shared with me. And I felt the weight of it. And I had to ask God, help me with the weight of it. And what I mean by that is to be able to fight against the demonic forces and the attacks that are very specific to our young people. And about 2 years ago, during the pandemic, I created a 7-day prayer challenges for moms. I'm gonna put that in effect on my social media platforms. I'll let you know when I'm going to do that. But if you are a mother or you want to intercede for a mother that is not in the position to pray, or she doesn't even know that that's what she should be doing, I'm going to give you the details of how you can join that and what I want us to be mindful of. Okay. Obstacles are going to come, challenges are going to come. Things are going to happen to have you not either want to sign up or show up for the days, or the moment I started doing this, everything started going crazy. Yes, because God is moving. Okay. So, again, just with everything that is going on, for us to be mindful. And again, it's not just kids to parents, it's parents to kids. I've seen another story of a mother who allegedly killed her 6-year-old daughter and basically was neglecting and abusing the other kids that she had. And so it almost feel like it's an epidemic, you know. But one thing we do know to do is to pray, to activate our faith, and to do the works, right? We just don't pray and be like, oh, God gonna do it. No, he's going to give us some specific things to do, as well. So with that being said, I'll give details on that. But today, I felt led to share, as I mentioned, oftentimes you hear someone testimonies and you hear the story of, just, oh, that's powerful, they overcame, but what did you do to overcome? And so if you're on my email list, or I've just had conversations with you, or you have been involved any type of way in my ministry or my platform, you have heard me talk about my struggles years ago with having faith for myself. It was easy for me to believe for other people because I didn't know their circumstances. I didn't know, what challenges they were facing. It's just like, oh, God said you're going to get a car. And I'm like, you're going to get that car, sis, but for myself, it was hard for me to believe that. And me looking at like, why are you going to church every Sunday, all the services, okay? All the services, being over the youth, preaching and teaching, but you struggle in this faith area. And when I looked at that, I had to acknowledge, like, okay, that comes from my upbringing. And this is why these were my experiences. And I did not realize how they were impacting me, right? So I've shared that story and those different things. But what I want to talk about, what I want to share is just overcoming something that seems impossible. It has knocked the wind out of you. You can't tell nobody. You feel like you're on an island by yourself, and you can't even begin to fathom like how you're going to overcome the thing. And so, in reference to that, a part that I'm going to start off with is talking about grief. Those of us that have lost loved ones, but I also want us to be aware that grief is not just losing people. It could be losing a position in life. It could be, you could grieve a relationship. You can grieve not accomplishing a goal or a thing. So it's not just, I know oftentimes you hear grief, we associate it with death, but there's so many things that you can grieve. And I want us to be aware of that, because when we're not, then it turns into depression. Okay. And then it turns into other things depending on how long we sit with it. So, um, I don't, me personally, I don't feel grief is something that you get over. You learn how to live your life with it. And what I mean by that, before the deep people come, what I mean by that, you learn to live with the new normal. You learn to accept what is, okay? You accept the reality of what is, whatever you lost or whoever you lost. You accept what is. And then you learn to live life in this new norm because it's not going to be the same. It can't be the same. That thing or that person is no longer there. So for me, what I did, losing two parents within 2 years of one another, very unexpected. The trauma alone that goes along with that, the trauma that goes along with how both of them passed and the circumstances around it. I had to give into what was. The reality is they are no longer here. Period. Let me deal with that. They are no longer here. Let me feel what I'm going to feel from that. Let me grieve how I'm going to grieve. And it's not a day thing, a month thing, a year thing. It's something that continuously happens. But depending on how you're healing, that impacts how your grief comes up. And what I mean by that is, so my mom passed December 14th of 2016. My dad passed November 5th of 2018. Just in general, my mom's birthday is December 26th. My dad's is December 27th. Mine is December 28th. Okay. The day that my mom passed is also the same date as my stepson's birthday. Okay. So we're not just talking about dealing with the date. We're talking about it comes up, what life looks like on that day, how it impacts how I feel before I get to my day of celebration, how it feels in the holiday season, how it feels Mother's Day, Father's Day, and just any other random day that I have a thought that comes up or a memory that comes up. I had to accept what was. No matter how pretty, how ugly, how confusing, I had to accept the reality is they're no longer there. And what do I do with this? Acceptance is huge because a lot of people try not to accept what is. We try to resist what is, and we waste time getting stuck there. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I'll never get past this. Be mindful of what you're saying. And what I like to do in reference to grief, when it's specific to a loss, is you can still honor that person. You're in a position that they no longer are in. You have life. How do you honor this person? How do you remember them but still live your life? Would this person have wanted you to be stuck and unsure and mad at the world and missing out on opportunities? Or would they want you to show up and do your best and put a smile on their face and those different things? So I had to learn to accept what is, and that was a process. Along with that process, it comes with learning to be honest with where you are at. Acknowledging I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm uncomfortable, I feel lost. All of the things, acknowledging that. I remember when my dad passed, and that week I had an event scheduled, and I was like, okay, this has never happened. Like, life is happening, but I have to take care of business. And so I went through the process of, telling people, hey, I have to cancel this. My dad passed suddenly, taking care of the business. Okay. It's just me. I got to take care of the business. And people understood, of course, sent their condolences and things like that. And it was hard for me to even begin to process my dad's passing because um, let me share this. And I've shared this part of my story with people personally. But when I was on my way to school, on my way to class to drop off a paper, I get a phone call and I'm like, wait, what? And it was so all over the place, just the craziness. Drop off the paper, I get another phone call. And I'm like, all right, I'm heading out there. And I'm heading out there. I call my husband, he prays, and I called my godparents. And I get there. And yeah, prayer went out the window. I was ready to fight. I was angry. I was, what's going on? And so the circumstances surrounded how someone passed away will affect you. So not only do you have to learn how to grieve the loss of a person, but how it happened, the why of it, all of those different things. And so I want us to be mindful of that. How did I get through that season? I was honest, and I had nothing else to hold on to, so I was honest to a fault. They say that girls marry their father and, boys marry their mom. And it was just the circumstances were so crazy around it. My husband would be asking me, well, what's going on? And it was that, like, I can tell you this is happening at 5 o'clock, and then at 5:05, it would be something else. And then at 5:15, it would be something else. It was that crazy. And I remember just having this anger and spewing it at him. And then I finally had to say, I don't want to talk about this with you because you remind me a lot of my father. And right now I'm very angry, I'm confused, and I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk. I know you're just trying to be there for me, but if you could just give me a moment to try to process what is. And as I'm able to process it and share it, I will. And being able to find my words in that situation was helpful. And that's why it's important for us not to allow our emotions to control us. Yes, we have them. We're gonna feel things, but if I was not able to vocalize that, but I just kept spewing the anger and things like that, that could have turned into something else. And when all someone is trying to do is be there for you. So give yourself time to process every aspect of it. Think about how I gave myself time to process every aspect of it. I'm telling you what I did. Okay. Some things it was quick, some things it took weeks, months. And again, I'm coming off just getting to a place of, life after losing one parent, and then I lose my other parent. So accepting the new reality, acknowledging my feelings and those different things, and giving myself the grace and the power to tell people I need help. Can you just come through? Can you just sit with me? Like, whatever it may be. I remember when my mom passed, one of my friends asked, is there anything I can help you with? I said, I cannot sleep at night. I said, so can you come over and just be here? We really did not interact with one another, but it was the comfort of knowing that someone was there. Um, so being able to say what you need, and sometimes even saying, I don't know, but this is how I feel. Because oftentimes other people don't even know how to respond to you, and they try to do their best. Y'all, some of y'all have experienced it. They're just trying to say the right things. They end up saying the wrong things. They're, if you need me, let me know. It's like, I'm gonna let you know. I don't know if I need you. We a lot of us just don't know what to say under those circumstances. We mean well, and we just go with that. So if you can find your feelings and voice them, please do so. Take time to process. But as it goes on, think of how you can honor that person. Think of how you can show up in the world. Every day that you have breath in your body, you're able to do something that they cannot do. I've seen people grieve to the point where you may talk to them today and you may think this person passed away today, and it has been 20 years and they're stuck. And it's no judgment, but go through the process. You can still carry people, you can still honor people without being stuck in that place of pain and anger and loss, and all those things that come along with that. So in reference to grief, those are some things that I did to help me. And one main thing that I did, I did not get mad at God. I went to God for strength, for understanding. That was my source for everything. If you see me talking, laughing, smiling, just looking like I was doing well, it was because God's grace is sufficient. Okay. And I was leaning on his strength, and like everything and always, he comes through for us. Yeah. So what you don't know how to do, what you can't do, remember to lean on God and work his word, even in the time of tragedy, chaos, loss, whatever it may be. Um, Another thing I want to talk about is how to take accountability for your shortcomings. You're not where you want to be in life. You're not where you said you was going to be 5 years ago. My plan is, remember those vision boards? Remember the goals you wrote down? Remember your prayer book? How to take accountability for your shortcomings. Be honest with yourself. I am honest with myself. Okay. I have the conversations in my head. I look at what I'm doing that is not aligning. What are you going to do about it? When you don't make the goal, don't be mad at nobody, be mad at yourself. But I had to learn how to take accountability. And if you followed anything this year of mine, that is the word that God gave me for this year. And I am understanding it is just like, oh, I want to be, I'm being accountable for my actions and my behaviors. It's even being accountable for how people may engage you. The behaviors of people, what have you shown them? What maybe have you exposed them to? What's the conversations, or what are the conversations that you should be having and you are not having? Learning to be fully accountable and asking God, Lord, can you show me? Can you show me myself? Show me the areas that I'm aware of that I struggle in. Show me how to fix those, to heal those. Show me how to do better in those. Show me how to stop doing certain things, whatever it may be. But you have to be open to being accountable. You have to be open to saying, it's my fault. That is my fault. That is my mistake. And even going back to parenting. Okay, we are our kids' first teachers. Not saying that they're not going to be influenced by anyone or anything else, okay, but it starts in the home. Holding accountability there. Why does my child act this way? And being able to accept that reflection. Well, they act this way because this is how they seen you act. They act this way because, or they don't communicate or share because you didn't communicate or share with them. They're lacking in this area where you may feel they're immature, they should be a little bit further, but did you help them in that area? You know what I mean? And it's not even a particular age, it's every age. Okay. I remember my first moment with my daughter. She was 3 months. And I was like, oh my God, I was such a bad mom. I was such a bad mom. All she wanted to do was eat. But I'm like, we have this thing. And I don't know why I felt like she couldn't have her bottle. Like she could have had her bottle while she was being christened. Like I remember that. And it took me a long time to forgive myself for that. But even fast forward to current time, she just turned 9. And she has some actions and some behaviors. And I'm asking God, and he's like, you. Okay, you. So if you want to fix that, you need to start with yourself. And when she sees that, then she's going to emulate that as well. Come on. Come on. That was a mic drop moment. So learning to be accountable and being willing to change and being honest if you're not. Being honest if you are not being willing to change, but understand that there's going to be a consequence with that. But be honest. And if you're not willing to change, and then you want to discover why. Are you just a stubborn person? Are you fearful of opening that up? Just whatever it may be. But sometimes it's us. We must do something to get the outcome that we desire, or to change the what's going on. My cute little Tabitha Brown cup, my business. But for my shortcomings, I've just learned to be accountable and to be like, you made the decision to do this, this is the outcome. So you deal with it, and you to change the situation, you know what you need to do. Or you just know at minimum, let me do the opposite. And in addition to that, how to keep going and staying focused on the things that God told you, your goals, staying connected to your purpose in the middle of chaos. When life is lifing, how do you stay plugged in and connected? Listen, God. And what I mean by that, because that's very broad, right? But God, because he can do everything. But I remember when I share my story, where I was just like, I was depressed. I was trying to figure out life. I was trying to figure out my family dynamic. Was I gonna stay committed to this relationship? Was I not? Like, I was just in a space where I was just figuring things out. And I had came out of that somewhat. I would say I was like 70 out, 30 still, like trying to figure it out. And I remember clear as day, I heard God say, it's time. And I'm like, time for what? Like, that's how we talk. And he was like, it's time. It's time to get back working in ministry. It's time to get back doing the things that you was doing. It's time. And I'm like, no, it ain't time, because I'm still trying to figure out X, Y, and Z. Clear as day. And every time I said something that was opposite of what he was saying, it just repeated. It's time. It's time. And so, and what he gave me, it's time, did not mean the next day I was about to be preaching back in somebody's pulpit. But what it meant was start working on what I gave you. Start working on what I gave you. So how do I stay connected and focused in the middle of chaos? My stories, like, if you are depending on God and you are listening to him, he's going to give you guidance, direction, instruction, strategy. He's going to give you all of that. And so even when I felt like I was not in a place to get back in position, he said I was. And so in the background, I began to work on things. Well, okay, what am I going to do? Times are changed, right? We are all online and all that. And things are just so different. And as I prayed and asked, and then, he gave me the new name I changed my ministry to, which is now, Healing for Her, and all these different things. And this is what I want you to do. I'm gonna have you do ministry and go into the marketplace, just all of these things. And I began to do the background work. Okay. And and then in time, just slowly putting me back in that position. Some of us are scared to start because we just think automatically, where it go. No, you start working on the vision. You start working on things to bring the dream to pass. You start working on different things. And here's the thing, okay? We read this thing called the Bible, and we talk about the people in the Bible, the stories in the Bible. Why do we fail to realize that God did not wait for nobody to become perfect to do anything? Okay? He did not wait. And David was a man after God's own heart. And we know everything David did. Come on, Peter, cussing Peter. Like, God did not wait. God will use you because he knows what's in you. And he knows that once you start moving in the things of him, though that stuff is going to start changing, you are going to move differently. You are going to speak differently. Things are going to begin to change internally. And then you're going to look up like, oh, like I did not realize that. So how to keep going and staying focused in the middle of chaos? It's, for me, it's consulting God, it's praying to God, it's talking to God. Because one thing I do know, in every situation, circumstance, tragedy, what trial, whatever you want to call it, the thing that kept me sane was my relationship with God. The thing that helped me pull myself out of depression, my relationship with God. The thing that helped me even when I could not pray. In times when I shared my story of having suicidal thoughts, when I could not pray, but I was able to say Jesus. When I could not pray, I was able to call on people and help them to pray. And when people go to God, he gonna give them what to pray for you. He gonna give them what to pray for you. You don't always have to tell people. Sometimes it's necessary because I'm about to be praying for you to do something outlandish. You know what I mean? But um, I know if God gives me people to pray for and give me something specific to pray for, and I may have not talked to this person in days, months, weeks, years, but he lays them on my heart to pray for them. He gonna do the same thing when you actually come to somebody and say, can you pray for me? I can't give you the details, but I just need you to pray for me. When you are really connected to God and you go to the throne, he's gonna give you what to pray, period. Um, and so for those that may be struggling, or you may have put God on pause for this season in your life, because I've been there. I was like, this Jesus thing is not working. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and try to figure it out myself. And then, of course, I came back because it wasn't working the way my way wasn't working either. And so if you're a person that you're saying, well, I really don't know about God, or you're somebody that said, well, right now I'm not in that place and position, and or I feel like God doesn't hear me. God always hears us. He does. Sometimes we are not still enough. We are too busy doing stuff that's not even serving us. We're too busy doing things that are below where God wants us to go. And so we don't hear, we don't pay attention. Oh, God speaks every time, every day to me. He speaks. He speaks. And it's up to me to listen. It's up to me to not just listen, but follow through with what he's saying, because he speaks. And I want you to know, if that is you today, you can go to God, you can ask for forgiveness, because we always should be asking for forgiveness. But you go to God, you ask for forgiveness, you repent. And even if it's just like, Lord, I have no idea what to do. I'm stuck in this place. I don't know how I got here. I don't know what to do to get out. You take time not only to pray, but you take some time to be still and you hear him. It could be a scripture, it can be a song, it can be an actual a plan, a strategy. You take time not just to pray. Okay. Some of us, we just pray and be like, all right, I prayed and that was good. We gave God all the accolades. We used all the big words, but you stop to hear, to meditate on the word? Did you stop? So um, for me, holding on to my God identity, my purpose and my calling, that's how I maintain myself in the face of chaos and adversity. Knowing who I am, knowing what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's not everything. God don't tell us everything, but I know because I spend time with him. He has told me that I am this in him. We don't even got to be deep, even if we like, well, I don't know what I'm called to, what I'm purposed to do. Okay, but in his word, it tells us that we are more than conquerors. Those that are fearful, God tells us not to fear. There's a word in the Bible for everything. And um you don't have to be deep about it. Like literally you can drop in Google, what does the Bible say about this? And you put it in. And then to give you scriptures, you begin to go through the scriptures and see what resonates with you and what God is saying. Sometimes, like I said, God gave me something I'm going to be dropping is called renew. And the mom, I'm like, renew. And then the scripture comes up and I'm like, okay, I know that was God because I wouldn't even have put that together. Not that quick. I'm not gonna ever say I know the Bible in and out. Like I still gotta flip through. But the word I know is the word I know, and I'm still open into learning the word. And so God gave me this, told me what it was, gave me the scripture. And I was just sitting there in awe, like, okay, Jesus. Like there's no way I can give myself credit for that. And guess what? I still have, like I was just saying today, like, Lord, help me. I want to be better in this area. Um, I want to come up higher in my prayer. I want to be better in these areas. And God hears that. He knows our heart. He knows when we're sincere and we do those things. We honor that. We ask God to search us out, to examine our hearts. We do all of that and God hears us. And I don't want you ever to think that you have to be in a perfect place for God to hear you. Because let me just tell you, in my darkest moments, he heard my cry. In the moments where I didn't know whether I was coming or going, he heard my cry. When I still needed a way out, he gave me a way of escape. It is in his word. He talks to us. I am telling you, he talks to us. I remember I was 18 years old. I don't know if I had just hit 19, but I remember I was in so much pain in this situation. This one little relationship propelled me into adulthood. Okay. And I remember I was coming down the hallway in our house and I was just crying. I mean, weeping. I'm like, Lord, how long am I going to be in pain? God showed me a vision of the season and the month. He showed me it was summertime and he said June. Okay. Now I done forgot about that. I'm living. When I realized June had came, I was no longer in pain. I had healed that situation. I'm like, and this is, I'm not just getting my relationship started with God because at that time I was really plugged in as a teen, but not experienced with how you live in life. And nobody preparing me for living life and these men out here in the streets and relationships and things, right? But God was always there. And I don't want us to think that we have to be perfect in order to be heard, perfect in order to be used, perfect in order to do any of the things that we have a desire to do or we feel that God has called us to do. We don't have to be perfect. One, don't play with my God. He don't play like that. He's a jealous God, okay? But we don't have to be perfect. And I don't want you to feel like because I'm not my best self I can't be used because I'm not my best. Let me tell you something. I remember going through my own stuff. I'm dealing with postpartum. I got this newborn baby. The relationship ain't nothing. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I can't even fully wrap my head around what is. And in the midst of that, this vision always sticks with me. I remember doing all that, and it was at night, and I'm getting the baby, and I'm doing all this, and I get a phone call, and it was somebody they needed to talk to me. I was experiencing what they was dealing with, and they began to talk to me and ask me questions, and I'm sharing with them in the midst of my pain, of my trauma, me trying to figure out what is, and I am sharing with them because what they asked me about was something I had already experienced, right? And so I'm talking to them, although I'm in a place where I need support, I need help. I was able to be help, right? To be a help to somebody. She wasn't able to help me where I was at, but I was able to help her. So even when we feel and when we are inflicted and we are in pain and we are struggling, we can still help someone. And I have to say that because listen, me being who I am, and if you know me, you know this thing go deep with me. I didn't just start doing this yesterday. Okay, I'm 20 plus years in this. Okay, and don't mess with me when it comes to the things of God. Somebody literally said, yeah, because you got a ministry. It's called Healing for Her. How you gonna be out here helping women heal and you dealing with your own stuff? Excuse me? So you mean to tell me I can't help someone heal in an area that God has already delivered me from? See, and that's where people fail to realize, and that's why I say know who you are in God, and go come against everything and everybody that tries to speak to you and tell you the opposite. Because I'm a person of wisdom, and I do things in order. I'm not out here helping anybody in the area that I am getting help in. I am able to help people because God has delivered me. So are you telling me I got a testimony and God ain't about to use me because in this one particular area where I am doing my best to get, really? People really be out here saying some stuff. And I just want us to know good seasons, bad seasons, seasons where it feel like ain't nothing working out, ain't nothing going your way, God will still use you. Little do we know, somebody is always watching us. And so where you may feel like you're in an area that you are failing, to somebody else, they are looking at you and seeing hope. You are giving them strength to endure. They see hope. They see I can make it. They see it's not as hard as I think it is. So don't allow anyone to just put their mouth on you. And I'm not saying go head to head with people, because choose your battles wisely, but you do know how to rebuke stuff. And you do know how to not give attention to that. And sometimes God would tell you to hold your peace because I got that. And sometimes his I got that is I'm going to show them better than you could have ever told them. So I want us to be, even in the midst of things not going right. I told y'all, God gave me Ladies Let's Talk in the worst 5 years of my life. Okay. Uh, Marriage is in a horrible place. Before that, it was relationship, then marriage, losing both parents, trying to figure out what I'm doing in life, being a new mom, the worst 5 years of my life. And here come God. Boom. I need you to do this. What? I need you to do this. And still being able to give a yes when I don't want to, be able to give to be able to give a yes when we don't want to, when we don't understand, and when it doesn't line up with what we see or line up with what we have allowed people to speak to us. So that is how I'm able to stay focused and maintain holding on to my purpose, because God is my source. And if you remove everything and everybody that has been a part of my life, God is the reason why I was able to show up. God is the reason why I was able to pass the test. God is the reason why I was able to overcome. God is the reason why I was able to do whatever you see me do. I give it all to God. Lord said they were overcome by the words of their testimony. Yes. And we have so gotten away from that. I'm actually going to put that up here. We have gotten away from allowing people to testify. We have gotten away from allowing deliverance to take place just naturally and organically. Sometimes people need God right then and there, not 10 minutes later, not on a specific day, not scheduling a certain um appointment, but those different things. That is what has I've been through too much, and I've experienced God in a way to know him for myself. And that's what he wants all of us to do. So in the midst of chaos, you'll be able to give God your yes. In the midst of frustrations, you'll be able to say, it ain't working out right now. It's not working out, but everything is going to work for my good. So I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going to try again. I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going to press. I'm going to get up tomorrow. And if I say something negative, I got to counteract it with something positive. I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going to thank God, even though I don't even know what I should be thanking him for. It's those things that's what helps you maintain in the midst of chaos. When you feel like you are all alone, and there's going to be some seasons that God has you by yourself. And that's where he's going to develop you, and you're going to learn to trust him in a way. Right. And so me personally, that's how I've been able to maintain, because I've held on to, I don't care if it's in current times, if I got to go back and remember, yes, he called you to do this. Remember this. Y'all may see like, oh, okay, she's doing an event, she's doing that. That still requires faith. And sometimes I sit here and I be like, okay, Lord, you told me to do this. I like, I remember I shared last year about the experience. I was like, wait a minute, ain't like people really ain't registering right now. And then at the last minute, people begin to register, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, Lord, I know what you gave me. That's what I say because I don't want to speak negative. I'm just like, Lord, I know what you gave me, and I know what you gave me is good. I know what you gave me is good. Help me to do it how you need me to do it. Show me what I'm supposed to be doing. Tell me what I'm supposed to be saying, whatever it may be, because it's always going to require your faith. It's always going to require you to give a yes. It's always going to require you to trust him. But in everything, when nothing was going right, okay? When your girl was sitting up depressed, what I knew to do was to hold on to God. What I knew to do is to ask him. It's to talk to him. That's what I knew to do. If everything around me crumbles, I know that I'm good because God is my source. I know that I'm good because he's going to provide. I know that I'm good because he's going to make a way. Even when it doesn't feel like it, I have to believe that, because I've tried him many times and he's never failed me. He's never left me. He's never put me in a position to not come out better than I went in. And so for those that may be struggling to find out, well, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? Okay, that's going to be ever evolving. It's going to be multiple layers to your purpose. And I'm just speaking from experience. I know that I am purposed to help women. To help women. I have a deliverance ministry. So I'm going to be helping you overcome. I'm going to be helping you realize some things. And y'all, it's a fight on the back end, but I still go because I want to make the enemy mad. I want to see women saved. I want to see women living the lives that they're supposed to live. But in addition to that, God has added other layers to that. So that's a part of it. But the dynamics of it, it's always changing. He's going to give it to you. It's going to be this in this season and something else in another season. But at the core of it, you know what you are called to do. I want you to take whatever you feel that you are good at in God, and I want you to water it. I want you to speak to it. I want you to work it. So if your thing is prayer, if your thing is just being faithful in helping, Okay, in the ministry of helps. If your thing is you're really good at reading the Bible and understanding, if your thing is teaching, whatever you have identified is your thing, what I want you to do is nurture it. What I want you to do is water it. What I want you to do is use it. In addition to that, what I want you to do is to pray over it and about it. What I want you to do is be very specific when you go to God, to ask him for the thing, to ask him to show you, to ask him to reveal, to ask him for a strategy and a plan, to ask him for everything. What do I call it? What do I do? Who do I, bring it up to? But to be God led, but work with what is in your hands. In my stories yesterday, I said, what is in your hands? And that's in Exodus chapter 4. Look at what you have in your hand and you speak to it so that it grows. You water it, you work it so that you're able to, in the face of adversity, you're able to stand in the face of adversity. You're able to say that it was God, even when it ain't working out how you're supposed to. Like I mentioned before, there was a season I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and try to do it myself. Okay, we've all been there. Back in the day when they said we backslid and those different things, and we realized, okay, and even in that, God didn't leave me. He's still talking to me. I'm like, look, Lord, he still comes and see about us. So let's it's almost like we need to do a reset. That is what I hear. We need to do a reset, shake off everything that has been said, everything that has been done, and reset in God. Go back and start to pray over. Go back to those vision boards that you made. Like I said, those prayer lists, your goals. Go back and you be very specific with God. And then you make sure that the things that you even desire, that is his desire for you. And I'm not saying that it's easy and it's just gonna be like butter, but because if it was easy, everybody will be doing it. But it does not mean that it's impossible. So those are the things that I do to stay connected. And then for me, look, like I said, I come from struggle. Like I had to fight for everything. I had to fight to use my voice. I had to fight just to be myself. I had to fight to even at times be work in ministry. I literally had to fight for these things. And because of my experiences from that, because of my growth, and because even when I was walking away, or I walked away, or I felt like walking away, how God would always come and see about me, those things have rooted me. Those things have planted me. So then when I hear people in position say what I can't do, or this, that, and the other, that does not, I don't waver, because I serve the same God you serve, and God talks to me as well. And I understand that attacks are going to come, and sometimes people don't even realize that they are being used. But that stuff fuels me, because I want to, just in general, even if you say, okay, let's take God out of it, in general, I want to live the best life possible. I want to live life to my fullest potential. I want to experience what I'm supposed to experience. I want to break generational curses. I want to do so many of the opposite things that my parents did, that still is a drive for me to change and to be willing, and not be willing to change, and not be, I don't want to say entitled, but feel like I got it all together, or because I'm grown, ain't no mistakes. So some people do that. Well, this is just me. I've been like this for 35 years and it's just me. And the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. Some of us don't want to do the work. Some of us are scared to face ourselves. And for me, I put it in my face, like put me in my face, Lord. I want to do what is right, and I want to do it the best way possible. And it does not mean that I'm less than. It does not mean, oh my gosh, because this, I got to stop. It doesn't mean any of that. So those are things that I do and I have done, and what I continue to do to help me stay focused in the middle of chaos. God is my source. And I know if everything else was removed, I'm going to be okay. I've started over from scratch before, and I was okay. I was better when I started over. So I let that be an encouragement and a testament to you, to you as well. And so in the beginning, how I talked about um, grief in the form of losing people as well as positions or things, and going from that and talking about how to be accountable and those different things. Um, Listen, somebody at Ladies Let's Talk, she said, I forgot what I said before, but she said, I used to be a minister. And I said, no, you're still a minister. And she said, you're right, you're right. Because even when we take a break or we're out of position for a season, we still are who? We're still who God says we are. None of us are worthy. So if you feel like you're not worthy, get in line. But He has found that we are worthy because what He put inside of us, it is good. And He wants us to fulfill it, not just for ourselves, but for other people. So, me sharing my testimony is about, oh, ye of little faith. Ah, y'all, my faith sucked. Okay. In church every Sunday. And I had to look at that. And it was rooted in my childhood. And I had to deal with that. And I dealt with that by acknowledging what it was. I had to repent. I had to like literally say, I am not my parents. And I don't have to walk in the same path that they did. I had to do that to free myself. Then I challenge myself. You know what I mean? Let's do this differently. Let's handle your finances differently. And it's not even like I was irresponsible with my finances, but I did things out of fear of the lights being cut off. And although that was not my story, but again, my upbringing. Wounded to rise. Yes. Oh my gosh, that comfort. But so that being in broken relationships and situations where your heart, man, it's factual. There's a thin line between love and hate, because when your heart is manipulated, when your heart is broken, I don't question how people can go off the deep end, because it's literally a thin line between being sane, keeping your sanity, and not. And so for somebody that is experiencing heartbreak, or you're in the relationship and it's not where and how you thought it should be and wanted it to be, I want you to know that it can work out. If that's what God has purpose for you, it can work out and it will change. It will evolve. It will grow. It will get better. It takes a commitment. It takes us being honest. It takes sometimes just you can't go to everybody with your stuff, and I understand that. I understand that personal experience. I'm like, who do I go to with this? Who do I talk to? And I start getting mad because I'm like, I have nobody to talk to about this. Because when I tell somebody, it's this is not a small thing. Like, and God really carried me through that season. God really carried me through that season. And that was before I got married. And what He allowed me to do is women started to come to me in private, and I would share the full scope. I would share my full testimony. And God allowed me to tell my testimony in parts, so much because He was still healing in certain areas. And it was, and now I'm to the point where I can now share the full testimony, and I will. And it's going to set a lot of people free in those different things. But I had to also listen to God so I didn't hurt myself by my own doing, rushing to do something that I wasn't supposed to do. But like I said, still being used, still being used. while you're impacted. And I'm not saying God will have everybody do that, but there is still something inside of us where we can help somebody, and some of it is not even deep. It could just be a actual, being a helping hand to somebody. Somebody may need some groceries, and you're able to provide that need, versus somebody that needs someone to literally go to because they're about to jump off, the bridge of life. And so, God will always use us. And if you haven't did a good job with staying connected and plugged in with what God gave you, all you got to do is repent and start over from this point on. But understanding that how God moves, like people don't understand it. People don't understand how you can lose somebody but still have a joy and a peace. That is God. That is God. So those are, I just wanted to share, those are things that I do, and things that I have done, but acknowledging and accepting and realizing that you can change things is like the basics, and that's where you start off at. And that's where you start off at. And I just want y'all to remember, like, God is using the girl, okay, that come from struggle. Let me read this. We're going to make it through our tests and trials. The battle is already won. May have been some battle scars. It's just a testimony on how we made it through and what it looks like to make it through. Yes, yes. And just to keep in mind, y'all looking at a girl that born and raised in what people back then may have called the hood, a middle class family, struggled a lot. I was searching for my identity. I used to get bullied when I was a little girl. Parentification, like the majority of my life, meaning I had to like play in a parent role. God is using the girl that had 4 abortions while in church. God is using, like, God uses us. And sometimes people get mad about you just sharing your testimony. Oh, you're bragging. No, yeah, let me brag. Okay, let me brag. That's where I was. This is where he brought me to. If you want to call it bragging. But we have to be able to tell people our stories so somebody else know that they can make it. So I want you to know you can make it. I want you to know what you see is no fluke or no overnight thing. These are things that I use. They have worked for me. I'm not sure if they will work for you, but I know what will work for you is the word of God. And be honest about where you're at and let that be that. I know in the world of social media, we get caught up. We see other people look like we should be where they're at or past where they're at or whatever it may be. But as long as you stay committed to the source and you do what he tells you to do, you will enjoy the life that you live, even in the midst of chaos when stuff don't make no sense. So those are some things that I want to share. This is conversation number 10. Next week will be conversation number 11. I do have some special guests that are going to be coming up. So I'll be advertising those. But thank y'all for tuning in. If you catch us on the replay, let me know you caught it on the replay. And please comment. Remember to share. Remember to let people know what we doing over here in these social media streets on Candid Conversations with Shy, where we talk about everything. And we ain't scared about it. I ain't never scared. I ain't never scared. Listen. That's in the Bible too. But I want y'all to have a good night. Remember to share this. Remember to tell somebody. If you have not subscribed, please tap the button wherever it's at and go ahead and subscribe. And I will see you next week. And before next week, I'm going to holler at you in these social media streets. So y'all have a great rest of your night and an even better morning and remainder of your week. And please talk back to me in the comments. So I will see y'all next week with conversation number 11. Bye.